everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk PMA. Today we do have a very special guest. This is Jeff Bender. Jeff, thank you very much for coming. We're happy you're here. If you want to go ahead and just give us a little introduction of yourself, your experiences, and what you do.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Yeah, 25 years as a PGA member, so they send you a little gold badge. Yay. But 32 years teaching the game and a lot of neat experiences and a lot of experiences in other sports as well. So yeah, I'm happy to be a part of this, and whatever you can pull out of this old rusty brain, I'm good.
Well, we totally appreciate you being here. I know that, you've coached Quentin and, you've worked with Allie a little bit as far as golf goes, but, we've talked a lot about just your experience with that mental part of any kind of sport, right? And so, we even last night talked about how when you get into a sport and if you have that, I'm not a very good player, I need to be coached, I need to be coached. Well, when does that I need to be coached become, well, you need to think about it a little differently?
So that's a wonderful question. Looking through what you guys have created, it's wonderful information, and that's where really the athlete has to, they've got to find where they're working. What are their interests? How much are they going to work on their game, their academics, their relationship with their parents, their relationship with their spouses? There's a lot of things in your information that if people actually wrote it down and saw their affirmations, I think that would be valuable. What I see as a coach, yeah, it's amazing, guys. I had a kid yesterday in Seattle that said, "Why are you always so happy?" And she's a good little player. And it was a really, really good question. And I had to look at it and go, well, it's because when I want to coach, I can coach and I can be hard, but otherwise I can be happy. And so it's kind of really, developing good relationships between a coach and an athlete, between a husband and a wife, between a teacher and a student. It is, I think that's what's missing right now, is just what you guys produced is something to go back. History and fashion repeat themselves. So going back to journalizing, I just had a young lady yesterday. I had 6 new students over the last 2 days. And they're all super good players, but we'll get into that a little bit more, because one is, I got to share one with you later that it was awesome. But I said, write stuff down on a 3x5 card. And this kid looked at me like, what is a 3x5 card? So if you go back to some of that, I think it really, really helps. Sticky notes on a mirror in the bathroom of, hey, this is what I want to do today. That is so good for you academically, physically, spiritually, however you want to do that. It's amazing to talk to people every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a kid the other day I was teaching, and he said, and I said, what brings you the joy, when you feel good about your round, what do you think? And he goes, well, I don't think I think anything. And I said, well, you have to think something. And he goes, I just feel God. He goes, I'm just happy because I know God's on my side and I had a good round. And he goes, so that's what I think. And I said, well, that's great. I said, but you're thinking that, you have God on your side, so you can do whatever you want to do. There's still that thought process. And I said, I
Yeah.
don't think it really matters what you think, as long as you have a power within you that's driving you to do better.
Yeah.
And he was like,
yeah, write it down. Yeah. Yeah. The neatest thing that I see as a coach because usually players come to you damaged, they there's something not working right, and they want us to fix them. And then there's the completely other side of that is the side where things are going really, really well. And when things are going really, really well, that's when you actually want to journalize. You want to put that down and go, what was I feeling? Where was I at? Where was I at? Sleeping, studying, getting up, eating correctly. What made me play? Fill in the blank: baseball, basketball, wrestling, tennis, golf, diving. I have a student that's an amazing golfer, and she's in a competition right now. She dives 1 meter and 3 meter.
Okay.
Right. Which, I mean, she does backflips off of a piece of concrete. And yet she says, man, golf is hard.
like, what?
And you're like, what? I would have broke my head open, died in the pool, and you're sitting here with a piece of rubber in your hand and a metal thing at the bottom going, man, this is really hard to make the ball do what I want it to do. So when she gets to a good spot, it's that I want all athletes and all people that when they're in a good spot, write it down.
Mm-hmm. Well, it also comes to that thing of, when you try something new, you think that you should be able to do it right away. You should be perfect at it right away, right? I think we all kind of have had those moments where we think, oh, I'm not good at something because I'm just not talented enough. Well, if you've never done it, how are you supposed to be good at it? Some people have a natural talent, but you're still not great at it because you've never tried it before.
Well, and it's all different from sports to sports. I mean, I know me, I played a million different sports, and every single sport mentally affected me differently. Golf was super extremely challenging for me because I am so competitive and I am very hard on myself. So making a mistake in golf was a lot harder for me to feel like I could make up for it than with basketball or volleyball or soccer. Any of those sports, I felt like I could make up for a mistake. I could go work hard on the other end of the court or the field or whatever. But golf, it was hard for me to be like, oh, I can't really make up for this. Yeah, I can find where my ball is. I can get there and I can try to make a good shot from there, but I can't just run down and do it again. You know what I mean? It's different, and it's interesting to see how different sports affect you mentally. And I know that you see that a lot, Jeff. Golf is a very, very mentally challenging sport. I don't know a lot of younger golfers who actually have a good mindset and think that they're good players. And but the ones who do, they're phenomenal.
They are. So ladies, they're all super happy people. Seriously, they work super hard. And then when they're away from it, they're super happy people. That's the biggest thing that I can tell you, that when you work in a team sport, you have an opportunity to take a timeout. You can tap the chest, and coach knows it's all right, out, you sit, water, hang out. Okay, hey, go check back in. There's rotations. And in individual sports, which would be really honestly skiing, tennis, golf, they're very individual sports where it's all you. And so how you how you proceed over the next 2 or 3 or 4 hours is again, what you guys created. This is where anybody that's watching this, if they challenge themselves to write a few things down, which a lot of what is not necessarily self-affirmations, but just, hey, this is where I get weak. This is where I don't feel confident. And yeah, golf wise, I'm telling you, between myself and my business partner, we get to work with a lot of really neat players, and they're very, very happy people. And then when they work, they work.
Mm-hmm. But
And
did
then
they start out
afterwards-
that way when you first got them?
What's that?
Did they start off that way when you first started working with them?
That's a great question. No. But mostly because I think that if we're talking adults, we can do that at a different podcast. But with juniors, no, there was there's a giant shadow that looms over them from parents or grandparents,
Yep.
or aunt, uncle. There's a giant shadow, and so when they do something poorly, I don't think it's that they're upset with their performance. They feel they're failing due to the person that is looming. You know, that shadow that's you can almost see it grow over their head.
Right.
And so you gotta,
they want their peers to be proud of them. They want their parents, their grandparents to be proud of them. And they're
right. So in your information, that's something that if somebody can actually write that down and go, I don't want to fail because of my mom and dad. You know what I mean? Then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, hold on. You gotta twist that. Whoa. Don't worry about them. If you hit a golf ball and your left ankle fell off, I ladies, I know this is a sidebar, but I was just at a wonderful home in Seattle, and this gentleman I've known in high school and college, and he loves soccer. And so we're watching soccer, which is so hilarious because it is so exaggerated on when somebody gets a trip or, something. It's
Right.
like their leg got torn out of their body. And I'm like, dude, what if we combine that with golf? So like if you hit a really bad shot in golf, like you hook it over in the trees, could you drop on the ground and go, oh, my arm, my wrist, I'm done. Could you do that? And so, yeah, I think that's a wonderful question, because I have a young man, he's going to shoot in the 60s, and he's learned how to do things for himself, not for his dad, because his dad is very inquisitive, and not in a negative way. I have negative parents, but the hardest thing, honestly, talking to you guys and doing this for 30 plus years, is how you introduce a different way to train your child is really interesting, because I'm not telling you as a mother to change how you've been a mom to your child. It's just that 70 hours a week, at least, I get to look at golf swings, or if I got to look at basketball players, or if I got to look at tennis players. It's what I see. And so when I bring something up, it's not that I'm calling you a bad parent. If coaches bring a player to me or to us and they go, look, man, I just don't know what else to do, I'm not calling that coach a bad coach. It's like, well, let's look at it, and let's, look at it forensically and say, okay. So a lot of parents in the world, when they try and coach their child, it doesn't work well. And so I can tell you, I've been fired at least 20 times in my life as a coach, because of what I said to a parent, not to the child, not to the player.
Yeah.
And so that's a really important thing.
I experienced that a lot as well. And I think it's a lot of like your mindset as a coach. Like for me, I know that like I'm here for the kids. I'm not here for anybody else. They know exactly why they aren't playing or what they need to do. Like I'm very honest. And then if a parent has something to say to me, I'm a very blunt person. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna tell you straight up exactly how it is. I'm not gonna be rude, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it because it's hard a lot of times too because parents think that their kid is the greatest. They always think their kid is the greatest. And it's like, well, that's not true. Your kid isn't the greatest. There's other players here who are working harder, or maybe they're not, but your kid is not the greatest player in the game. And so I think honestly, having the mindset of, I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to be rude, but I'm going to tell you exactly how this is working. And it's good for the kids to see that too, because they know that the coach is holding them to like a realistic standard.
Yeah. So can I ask you a question? So at what age, all right, so this would be the big question. So if you're coaching a 2-year-old to 5-year-old basketball team, would you take that approach, or would it be 6 to 11, or what age do you take that approach?
I mean, I coach kids 3rd through 8th grade,
Okay.
and it works perfectly through there. I don't really coach anyone younger, but obviously I think if it's younger, there's not as much to worry about most of the time.
Yeah.
When you get to older with the clubs and everything's a lot more intense.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely say, depending on what they're involved in, like if it was just a rec team, I probably wouldn't have such like expectations, I guess, and the parents wouldn't either. But it's
Yeah.
like what kind of group they're in. Like I coach some nationally ranked girls like teams and things like that. So
Yeah.
everything's held to a higher standard. And parents all think that their kids are the best. So
That's all through all sports. It really is. And so that's why I like what you guys have created and what you've written, because it allows even a parent to write down what they can do, and then where everything is, and you look at it. So again, I know I use that word forensically, but you can look at stuff and go, look, this is I know it's everything that we hold as an athlete is perfect. A basketball is perfect. A tennis racket and a tennis ball, they're perfect. A golf club, perfect. A baseball bat, perfect. The thing operating those devices is not perfect.
Right.
It needs calibrated every 38 seconds. So
well,
so,
and that's the thing. And like you talked about, the younger kids, 1st, 2nd graders, well, if we can teach parents through the workbook or through just watching whatever, that it starts at such a young age, that show them that they're worthy for themselves. They don't have to be worthy for you. They don't have to prove anything to you. And if they want to succeed, if they want to play, whatever, it's for themselves. And that we don't have to make it so much about them pleasing us as adults.
Good at a lot and master of none is okay to a certain age. And I want to put it at like 14 years old. 14 is when it's like, look, man, if you want to be really good at something, you got to leave all that other stuff that you're good at, and you got to master one. So choose.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my friends in high school that had a basketball, a football, a wrestling, on their Letterman's jacket. When you first do that, it's like, man, I want that Letterman's jacket. Look at how everybody responds to them. They're the coolest people. But they were just good at a lot. They weren't a master, of any. And so they never continued on. I have very few friends that continued on to college and played the sport because they played everything because it looked cool. But that was their choice. Now, are they great husbands and wives, and are they good people now? Yes.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
when you find a player, oh my gosh, the kids that play the flute, the clarinet, the piano, they do the soup kitchen, they do so many things, and also they're learning golf. So they play tennis, they wrestle, they play baseball. I've got a kid in Seattle. This kid is going to be so good, and it's because he plays baseball and golf. And their schedule over there, they play golf in the fall and they play baseball in the spring.
Mm.
And to talk about those two different swings, he's totally understanding it. But I wanted to circle back to I had like 6 new students this weekend, and one young lady, she showed up to a lesson with a young lady that's been a student for a long time. She's a very good player. She plays number 1 for her team over there. She brought a friend who's like 6'1" and is learning the game, and then another friend who's like 5'4", and this other friend started with just flip-flops on and looked at me, and she said, "Look, I'm just here as a friend." I said, "Okay, cool." So I worked with the other 2 young ladies and moved them around and got, physically engaged with these players, and they were hitting the ball really well. So as I'm doing that, about 31 minutes into this, all of a sudden, this lady's got a pair of Chucks on. Her flip-flops are gone, and she's got a golf club. And I'll be darned if she's not. I mean, she's 5'4", right? And she's she's like, "I'm a basketball player." I'm like, "Well, okay, well, let me guess, you're a 1." She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Good for you. That's a tough job. That's a tough job. That's like being libero in volleyball."
Right.
Everybody around you are giants, and you have a tough job. And so she just hits a few balls, and then about 18 minutes into that, where I'm just like, "Hey, cool, good swing. Wow, lots of power." She goes, "Yeah, I used to also play lacrosse."
Mm.
I'm like, "Oh my gosh, so you're used to having a stick in your hand. This is going to be super easy." So how coaches and players, another story, ladies, but one of my new students, this guy taught his daughter, and he signed up full year, full membership, everything. His daughter's a good player, but her balance points are really, really weird. And he used some protocol from a doctor over in China, and it's like, you can see the moves. So you can see where it's like, well, that's why she moves like that. But as he paid for the year, he told me, "Look, no, you're the master. She's going to follow everything you say." And I said, "No, we're a village and she's the player. We have to create a village around her. And if we add like 3 or 4 or 5 more around her, she only has to think about what she's working on."
Mhm.
So the village, if there's issues, if there's ever any of this, then the village does that.
Right.
But the player doesn't. They don't need that. They don't need that. And I
Well,
mean,
and
yeah,
that's a good point, because we always talk about how, the parent, the coach, the athlete, they're their own team. They're a team in themselves, because they all have to work together, like you say, and not butt heads, for the athlete to be the success that they are, because it takes all of them to make the confidence and to help with the confidence of the athlete.
yeah. Allie, let me ask you this. So, because if you're still actively coaching, this is a fun one. That when a dad says, "Hey man, you've been recruited by this club basketball team. You're a super good player. And this guy walks on water. This coach walks on water. You listen to everything he says. I mean, everything. You just follow his orders. And then when you look at that same 14, 15-year-old player, don't care the gender, when you look at that and that kid is in the back seat of a car and the dad is driving home going, you know what? Your coach is a friggin' moron. That guy's the dumbest person. I can't believe he made those. And you just get to kind of like look to the side and look at a child's eyes and go, what am I supposed to do? Because 3 weeks before that, you were telling me, Dad, if he told me to jump off the roof, I would jump off the roof, you know? And so it is so funny to create the village. So I was honored by this dad because he really liked what I did with this player. But it's like, no, man. No, if she's got questions and she shares something with you, then you share it with me and I'll share it with her. And players have a tendency to get better. And I mean, still one of the neatest things out of sports is players play, coaches coach, and officials officiate. And I mean, if we stay with that, which is, I mean, who wrote that in like 1958? It's like absolutely the truest, even more now. So one thing, and to circle back what you guys talked about, the thing that I see with athletes and parents and coaches now is what I like about your book is that you have to understand that there's an app on your phone that's either free or $1.95 that'll make where your groceries can show up at your door. Your TV can pay bills, you don't have to move. Right? I mean, there's no app, pardon this language or pardon what I'm going to say, but there's no app to allow me to use the bathroom on my phone. I still have to get up and go, and something has to evacuate from my body. But everything else in our life in the 21st century, everybody's looking for a faster and easier way to do it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what I love in your book is even when you and I met, when we met a couple weeks ago, and it's like, I'm like, wow, this would be really cool in an app. And then I had to pray and meditate about that and go, no, you've got to get people to write it down, look at it physically, because the neatest thing is in 40 years, you can go back and look at what you wrote.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, we are talking about an app after you've completed and after you start realizing what your thoughts are creating and through the workbook, getting through the workbook, and then having access to an app that you can continue that. Say you're at a game and like, you know, we talked about having that so you can write down then. But again, it has to be accessible for you to be able to go back and see what you've written. And so it can't just go away. It has to stay there so that you can go back and you can see what you've learned and see how you've progressed, see what those thoughts caused you at one point. And now your thoughts are different and what's causing, you know, how have you progressed and what problems are coming up that you need to solve now.
Yeah. You two ladies have no idea how important what you're doing. You don't know. I mean, there's days where you're going to feel like you're not doing anything. And there's so many other devices out there and everything. You have no idea how important what you're doing.
Well, we're starting to see, but yes, I appreciate that so much. And I know, you know, we have worked hard and we believe 100,000% in what we are putting out there. So
yeah,
right.
I use basically everything that's in the workbook every day with practices with my teams. I really focus on my teams having that relationship with them. I want them to be able to tell me their thoughts and their feelings and their goals, because that's the only way that I'm going to know where their heads are at. as well as like being able to make sure that they're in the right spots to continue to like succeed and get better. I tell them all the time, I'm like, I would much rather you be honest with me about how you're talking to yourself or the thoughts that you're having than to lie to me and have me already know. Like, I would just tell me straight up, because I can't help you if you don't tell me and you don't talk to me. And so I have a very close relationship with all of my girls, and I don't think I could coach any other way. I think it makes it easier, honestly, the trust that you gain with your team.
Yeah. I agree. So when you get your players to a certain position, I mean, honestly, and that's the hardest thing is when you're talking club volleyball, club basketball, club tennis, these kids that are good, it's no, if you want them to be better, they have to travel and see, like if you want to play varsity tennis in Central Washington, all you have to do is hit it over the net and you're on varsity. If you go to Seattle, not so much. So that's only 3 hours away. Right. So it's so important for players that parents that say, look, I don't have the money to fill in the blank. Then it's like, look, you got to talk to grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles, friends, family. You got to go down the line, because you've got to see, look, your kid has talent, but he's got to, or she's got to play bigger, longer, faster. Only if that child wants that. Yes. That's the big thing.
If they want it.
If they want it. Yeah. Right. If they just want to play on your team and they're a good player, then you push them to be great. But it's that, yes, they're Katie Miles Brophy is our recruiter for colleges. And she's really good. I mean, she was the women's Georgetown golf coach. And anyway, I've known her for 10 years, and she's put kids into the colleges they want, but she's super honest. I want to play for Cal State. She goes, nope. Cal just recruits from inside. You have every great athlete from inside Cal. Nope. Let's not look there. What do you think of the University of Nebraska? What do you think of UNLV? How about the University of Nevada, Reno? It's a Division I school. Okay. Well, my grades are great, but my competition isn't great. I'm okay. Well, then let's look at George Fox or St. Martin's, or let's look at even Pomona. I mean, that's a D3. That's $105,000 a year. There's so many different places that players can go that have teams. And where do you want to go? And then, but that's later. So you got to look at players that when they're starting at 5 years old. So sorry but this weekend was really, really cool. On Saturday morning, before I go to Seattle, I had a family come in, and the one son is fully engaged. It's a good swing. He's there. Their other son hid behind their mom, and he's 5. And I mean, he just hid from me. And finally, I just looked over and said, hey, if you just want to go build sandcastles in the bunker, go ahead. This is all yours. If you just want to roll down the hill, I know the grass is wet, so you might get stains on your pants. But if you want to go to, so by the time I was done with this other kid, this kid was out there playing in the sand, and then he was hitting balls, and it was the goofiest thing. Because it's like, yeah, how you
gave him the freedom.
If you do it for the player,
yeah,
you'll succeed. If you're doing it for yourself, not a chance.
Yep.
Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. A lot of really great aspects and inputs, everything, all your experiences that you've had. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us. We'll hope to have you on again soon for sure. We really appreciate it. Do you have any last things that you'd like to share with everyone before?
No, absolutely. I would be honored to share, because again, it's about the athlete. And so that's really what I'm excited about when I get home. It's not about, yeah, we have to be so selfless as coaches and as parents. It's about the person that we're putting in your book. So if you want me to come on and share other things, because yeah, I've got a player that's leaving UW. I mean, she's not leaving the school, but she's leaving the team. And it's super hard on the parents. And I know this young lady had set this in motion her junior year of high school. So the parents are blown away, devastated. And it's like, no, you're going to have an attorney that's going to belong to a private club. And so when you work with young people, you just have to keep them, where are they at? What are they doing? What do they want? So no, I love what you guys created. I'm in.
Well, thank you again for coming on. We really, really appreciate it. And we hope everyone enjoyed this episode. And we'll see everyone next week.
Yep. Make sure and go to Let's Talk PMA and check out our workbook and see how you can change your mindset as well.